So, you've chosen your bike then. What did you choose in the end?
Well, interesting question. Did I choose the bike or did it choose me? Before we get there, just like to say we're back in this car park, aren't we?
Yeah.
We haven't been thrown out by Via Moto, they're just closed today. But we thought it to be quite a good idea to come back here to reveal what bike I've actually...
Back to the beginning.
The bike's here, and you will get to see the bike in this video. So you're going to see, basically, what I ended up with. I don't remember when I first got the idea of having the motorbike. Do you?
No, not really.
I think it was sometime last year. We might have been in Whitby. And we bumped into a subscriber from the other channel.
We did.
Jimmy Chew.
Jimmy Chew.
And I was speaking to him and just saying how I'd been looking at all the bikes that are in Whitby and how it looks something that's interesting. And Jimmy said, do it.
He did.
And I think
and Anne-Marie, his
and
wife.
Anne-Marie, yeah. I think that's what planted the seed,
So
really.
it's Jimmy's fault.
So it's your fault. It's your fault. And I remember sun was shining and they looked like the happiest people on earth.
Yeah.
Didn't they? And
Yep.
they just said, honestly, you'll love it. You'll never look back. But there were another reason why I got into it as well, because I'd sold my car to buy a motorhome. And we didn't have enough room to have another car and a motorhome. So I chopped mine in and I threw that into buying the motorhome. So I decided that I'd cycle to work.
You did.
Do you remember?
I remember the cycling.
And it was a really good idea through summer, and I loved doing that.
Yeah.
But then when it got towards end of August and the nights started drawing in, I realised that I was riding a push bike on these roads and I felt a bit vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd worked out in my head that if I had a helmet on and I got indicators and lights, then I'd be seen better.
It would be safer.
And I'd have better gear on like
Yeah.
this. So if I did get involved in an accident, then at least I'd be protected.
Yeah, okay.
And that's when I got in touch with S&K Training to do a CBT, and that's all I ever were going to do.
I remember you telling me, yeah.
Just a cheap bike to get to and from work.
That's what you said.
I didn't want to take it any further. And when I booked that, then I went to see my friends at Bennett's in Barnsley. And then I bought my Kiwi 125 Cruiser. When Phil came with my bike, I remember it being sat there and I just thought, what have I done? It was quite overwhelming.
Yeah.
And the CBT process were quite overwhelming. You know, to be an older guy, totally out of your comfort zone.
It was totally new to you, wasn't it?
With a bit of fear involved, and you try not to show any of that. And it were a humbling experience. There were days where I didn't want to go out on my bike.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel confident enough.
Yeah, I remember the days.
And then there were other days where, most days, I got a list of roads that I would not ride down.
Yeah, you would.
A list of roundabouts that I would not go to.
Yes, because they were too busy, too big.
So what started with this idea of just being safer, I was obsessed with safety.
Yeah.
You know, and what I could and couldn't do and what was in my skill set and what the bike could and couldn't do. And as we all know, 51 mile an hour top speed out of my Kiwi.
Yeah.
I started getting on YouTube. I think I've watched every bike video that's on YouTube, including ours. And I was looking at accident statistics and what kind of bikes you have accidents on, what age group you have accidents on, what's the best helmet to have, what's this, what's that. Obsessed, totally obsessed with all that. But then when I was going through all these forums, people were saying, oh, motorbiking's about freedom and this sense that you get. And honestly, I didn't feel that.
At the beginning?
At the beginning, I didn't feel that. I felt like it were a challenge, like everything were like hard work for me. And then to add on to that, when I was telling people that I got a bike, a lot of people were going, what you done that for? Don't tell me you've bought a bike. You're not the type of person I thought I'd have a bike. I had a friend that he got into a lot of trouble on a bike. Or, what have you bought a brand new bike for? You're going to drop it, you'll wreck it.
Yeah.
All these type of things. Quite negative, really, towards biking, which I'd not really thought about. Or other people, oh, bikers are idiots. They ruin country roads. They're dangerous on roads. They're always racing. But then, I'm lucky enough to know a lot of older guys.
Yeah.
And they were like, I've got a bike.
Good lad.
I'm like, but you've got a bike? Yeah, I've got 3. Well, you've never mentioned it. Well, you never asked. I didn't think you rode, so why would I tell you?
Yeah.
Well, how long have you been riding for? Years.
You didn't know, did you?
No. Well, have you got bored of it? No, I'll never get bored of biking. Will you ever sell it? As long as I can get on it, I'm not going to sell it.
Yeah, that's the message I've heard a lot.
So is it dangerous then? Well, it can be. Conversations like this. But if you ride them and respect them, well, no. It's as dangerous as anything else.
Yeah.
You just got to, biggest advice I got, just know that everybody's out to kill you.
That's really good advice.
Yeah. So then these guys would start pulling the phones out and going, look, that's me and my bike in Switzerland with Dave. And I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, look at this. I rode to Spain on my bike. It's like, do you do it a lot? Yeah, I do it all the time. Never knew. But then because I'd got to speak to these people, something started changing a little bit.
Yeah.
I started to get used to where controls were on my bike. And I would riding to and from work and doing a lot of practice in car parks.
You were, did lots of practice, yeah.
And it just started to click.
Mm-hmm.
And then something started to happen. I started leaving work in one mindset, tired, been concentrating all day, just ready to go home and finish the day off. But then when I came home, I'd walk through the door with a massive smile on my face.
You were a new man, weren't you?
I were, with a glow on my face.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And I didn't know what it were. There was something changing. So
Yeah.
I thought, I'll have a look at this. And there is a certain thing with biking. There's a gyroscopic effect of the wheels.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a thing called flow state. Have you heard of flow state?
No, I haven't. Tell me about
Well,
it.
flow state is kind of like, you know, when you're just doing a task.
Yeah.
And that's all you're thinking about.
That task.
Yeah. Well, that's what biking does for you. Because if you think about it, you have to be relaxed enough so that you can ride it properly.
Yeah.
Because if you ride scared, you're not going to ride
No,
well.
yeah.
But you've got to be alert enough to be able
look
to
around you.
react to everything. Your hands are on the handlebars.
Yeah.
You can't touch anything else, like get distracted
Yeah.
with a phone or anything else. So you
You're
end
just
up in this
focused.
flow state.
Yeah, right.
And it started to change a lot of things about me. You know, I started to be, I do think biking's changed how I think about stuff. I'm more for the experience rather than just trying to get to a destination.
Yeah.
I'd never jump in a car and just go for a drive. Whereas I'll get on a bike
You do,
and
yeah.
just go for a ride.
You do, yeah.
I think you were surprised when I announced that I was going to do my full bike license.
Yeah, that's not what you said.
The original plan was to do it next year, this year.
Springtime.
But I thought I'll just get on with it. It seemed a good idea and I booked it all. And then I remember when it got to the training session, I was terrified.
Well, you'd not been on the bike long at all.
No,
Month, maybe not even that.
I just had it in my head that I was going to sit
Yeah.
on this 650 bike. I was going to twist that throttle
Yeah.
and me and the bike were going to shoot off into distance. But it didn't happen. I got some really, really good training.
You did.
The bigger bike increases the flow state.
Okay.
It's more planted, it's more grounded. It's like being on a big horse. You know, it's not twitchy, it's just steady away
Yeah. People did tell you that, didn't they?
with a lot of power underneath it. And it's one thing which I wish you could experience, and I hope you will, because I think this is true. All you guys and girls that watch this, unless you've done it, I could talk about it all day, but you don't know unless you try it yourself. There's something magic that happens. So if you remember,
Yeah.
my thoughts turned to getting a bigger bike and we went to the NEC.
We did.
And we had a
Motorcycle
look-
Live.
Motorcycle Live, and we had a look at all of the big bikes and Hondas, Kawasaki's, Yamahas,
BMWs.
Suzuki, all of them. And we had a look around all of the different styles. And then that opened up a load of the comments. You guys have been so helpful all the way through this process. It's like all that frustration that I've been through and all that doubt and everything else, you've kind of just compressed it into these diamonds of information
Yeah.
that I've been able to just go thank you. Which, I mean,
Yes.
where else can you get that?
We can't.
It's been invaluable. Buy a Honda. Hondas are reliable. I think, oh, yeah, I'll get a Honda. So you look. And then, oh, there's another comment coming. Oh, yeah, don't buy a Honda. My Honda, I don't like it. Oh, I had a Honda, I didn't like it. There's not many of that. But then it's, buy a Suzuki. You don't want a Suzuki. And then we went down the Chinese route. And that
Yeah.
was a big one, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because unbeknown to me, I was just looking at a Chinese bike, but then it went a different route, and people said, well, if you buy that, then it means that you're supporting this and all that. I just want a
want a
bike. I
bike,
just want
yeah.
a bike. And if I ever end up with a Chinese bike, I'm not buying a Chinese bike to support anything.
No.
It's just because I
Because
want
you like the bike.
the bike. So I want to put that there. So all this advice, and I got totally confused.
Yeah.
Not only that, you can have a 650cc bike, but one might have 47 horsepower and the other one's got 68. So
That's the key thing, isn't it?
and the insurance is all different. You know, I got to tell you, for a Triumph Scrambler 400 that I looked at, the cheapest insurance quote that I could get, I think it was £1,200.
Wow. Yeah.
£1,200 for that. So I started to go back into logical mode.
Yep.
So I'd gone from starting off logical about safety, getting to work, and then finding this magical little bit in the middle where it was just the most amazing feeling in the world to be riding.
Really good for your brain, wasn't it?
Yeah, now I'm back to looking at spec sheets
Yeah.
and costing things out. Kind of like where I started, where I were in life before I started with motorbikes. You know, you get to a certain age, you get some experience, you start weighing it all up.
Yeah.
I said that. And that's why we're looking at adventure bikes. And adventure bikes ticked all the boxes. But even in that, do I do BMW? Do I do Suzuki? Do I do Triumph?
Yep.
They would buy a Triumph. They're brilliant. Don't buy a Triumph. Too expensive for servicing. And then buy a Suzuki. Why would you buy a Suzuki? They're boring. So it all started
that's
again,
right.
didn't
Yeah,
it?
that's right.
But there were one bit of information, one bit of advice that stuck out all the way through.
Okay.
And it made me think. Because I were ready to pull trigger on one of them adventure bikes. I were also ready to pull the trigger on a Chinese bike.
You were, yeah.
And the adventure bike, whether it's Chinese or any of those, they make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
But somebody said, if you walk away from it and you don't look back, at least once, it's not the bike
That's
for
not
you.
your bike. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But there was one bike in all of it that I'd seen in the corner of a showroom.
Yep.
I couldn't stop thinking about
You
it.
kept going back to it, didn't you?
I could not stop thinking about it. It's a 650cc.
Right.
It's not going to break any speed records.
Yeah. But you
But-
never wanted that, did you?
I don't want to break anything.
Yeah.
Speed, bikes,
Legs.
or bones.
Yes.
So I'm not bothered about that.
You
But
always
this-
said that.
Yeah. This bike, for some reason, spoke to me. I don't know whether it's because I grew up in 80s and I used to watch Chips. I don't know what it is. But I think I do know what it is, actually. I do know what it is. It's none of those things. What it is that world's a bit different now, isn't it?
Very different.
And especially for, I think, guys my age, it's different.
Okay.
Because the world that we grew up in, it does not exist
No.
anymore.
No.
The mainstream opinions, the mainstream values, they've all changed.
Yeah.
You know, you get to my age, you've brought your kids up, you've provided for them, they go about the business doing their own stuff, and then you sat with, you know, the rest of your life, which is amazing, but what is it for you personally as a man? And
Right, yeah.
And this is for ladies as well,
I
but I
know.
can't speak for
You're
ladies.
talking about yourself, aren't you? Here?
Yeah. And you want something like a connection to something, don't you? You know, something that's true and honest and that's based on respect. That you have to respect it and it respects you.
Yeah.
If you think about a bike, if you're tootling along at 70 mile an hour, your foot is about that high above the ground.
Yes, it is.
Depending on what bike you've got. If that foot touches that ground, it's not going to be very good for your foot
No.
or you. But you respect it. It needs to be there, and that supports you as you're going along. But there's that much in it.
Yeah.
There's an element of danger, but it's danger, but it's respect. You've got to respect it because you can tell everybody that you're a really good rider and that you can corner and you're as good as anybody on MotoGP circuit. But if you get it wrong, you're coming off.
Yep.
It'll smash your bike up. It'll smash you up.
Yep.
You can't blag it. It's honest.
Yep.
Yeah? Whatever the political stance is, whether it's leaning left, leaning right, whatever the trend is, those laws are there, and that's what'll happen.
Yeah.
So it's true, and it's about respect. And that's why I chose this bike, because it harks back to that time where that mattered, not to what it's like now. I didn't want a modern thing. I didn't want a desensitized bike like what cars have become.
You want to, yeah, I get this. This makes sense to me.
Where you sit in a car and you've got all your cocoon around you. And even if you smash it into a wall, there's an airbag that's going to come off. I didn't want any of that. And some of the bikes, like the adventure bikes, got all these different modes
Gadgets.
on it.
Yeah.
This bike's got modes on it. Sports mode, that's it. I lean forward so that I can cut through wind. Rain mode, slow down so I don't come off it.
Yeah.
It's pure. It's got ABS, I'll give it that. But it's pure. And that's what I want. I want that pure thing so that I can get in that flow state. We've got that lovely helmet. It's already got an intercom in there. It just needs the rest of it put in. But I'm doubting as to whether I'll put it in or not, because I don't want that. I want to do a long ride on it.
Yeah.
But instead of using sat-nav, I just want a list of villages that I need to go through, like I used to do when I'd ride a long way on a push bike. This bike ended up choosing me. One thing I would say before I show you, she doesn't stay clean for very long. Royal Enfield. Heritage. And before you say, oh, they're not made in England anymore, no, but they've still got connections to England, and they go way back. It's a Super Meteor. This model only came out in 2023. It's a 2023 model. It had just under 3,000 miles on the clock when I bought it, which meant that I got it for a really, really good price because a big chunk of depreciation had already come off it.
She's
But
beautiful, Andy.
she's absolutely beautiful. 47 horsepower. Will she do motorway speeds? Yes, she will. 100%. I can get her up to 70 in no time. I broke through the 51 mile an hour limit. But just gorgeous.
Andrew,
Now,
do you look back at her?
all the time. I look back at it all the time. This bike could have cost me, not that I have that money, but it could have cost me £250,000 and I would still love looking at it. And that's true, I mean that. Just everything about it. The styling speaks to me. Now, as a commuter bike, it's not the most sensible, but it's about your heart biking. If I want sensible, I'll buy myself a little car. You know, the sensible as in being safe, I get that, and that 100%. But as far as sensible for anything else, no. Interstellar green, I think they call this. Beautiful.
So, can we see you on her?
Now, a lot of people were saying about being a big guy. That's why adventure bikes were mentioned. But this, it's a biggish cruiser. It's not as big as some Harleys or some Triumphs, some of the big ones, but I mean, I couldn't want a different bike. I couldn't want for a different bike. Do you know what I mean?
She's gorgeous.
Do you know one of the best things about her?
Yeah?
The sound.
Oh, let's have a listen.
If you're having a bad day, just go and do that. Puts a smile on your face. Did you hear the pop?
Yeah, baby.
Thank you to everybody for all your help. There are a massive group of you that were screaming Royal Enfield at me all the way through. And I didn't really pay much attention to it on purpose because I kind of had this urge where I thought if I lean into it too much, I'm going to go for it straight away. But this is where we are. We've got a lot of interesting things coming up on the channel. This is by no means the end. It's taken off beyond as wildest dreams. and we've been contacted by some really, really interesting people. And we've got a few irons in the fire at the moment that are gonna be really interesting for the channel. And there's one in particular, and I'm gonna put this out there. This may not be the only bike that we're looking at on the channel. Because there is another bike that's come up on the horizon. I didn't think I'd end up with more than one bike this quick.
That's not what we agreed.
Not only that, there might be a third bike on the horizon as well. As we move from one season to another, I've got loads to learn on this. I'm still learning. I've got some bigger rides to do. You're going to be able to follow along with me as I go through the next stages where I'm doing longer rides, riding with other people. I'm going to increase my skills and I'm going to be looking at some gear that's going to help me as well. So thanks very much for watching. Thank you so much for helping me up to now. I hope you continue to watch. Happy New Year to everybody. We'll see you next time.
Little by little, piece by piece, I take back what's been stolen from me. Little by little, piece by piece, until I'm complete.